Hello everybody and welcome to a Tiny Fibre Studio long-term review of the Akerworks Knitting Tool Kit. So this is something that I was sent for review a little while ago and I've been using it ever since, and so now I think I'm ready to give you a good review. I will be honest. If there's something that I don't like, I will tell you so, and I'll be able to tell you how it's kind of held up and how I've been using it for around about the last year. So first of all, this is how it comes packaged. So it's all cardboard packaging, and if I turn it over, there's a little exploded diagram on the back which talks you through all of the different bits and pieces that are in here. Since we're going to be looking at that in this video, I'm not going to bother going through all of this information. So let's unbox. I'm just going to slide this little sleeve off and pop that one over there. And when we open the box up, the knitting tool itself is all wrapped up in tissue paper. There is a little warning note in the box that because this contains strong magnets, if you have any medical devices that might be affected by strong magnets, i.e. things like pacemakers or internal defibrillators, any of that kind of stuff, you probably want to be a little bit careful. This is the toolkit itself. And this is a really durable tool. It's made of rubber, and so although I can flex things, nothing in here is really going to break. So first of all, on the top of the toolkit is the swatch gauge. This is held in pretty securely, so if I flip it upside down, I can shake it around a bit, it's not going anywhere. So it is held in very securely. The idea of it is that there are grippy feet on the bottom to allow you to sort of sink those into your knitted swatch, and the gaps in this acrylic allow you to line those up with a column and a row of stitches and be able to easily and accurately count the stitches in your gauge swatch. I know some people at this point might be thinking just use a ruler or a tape measure, but I always find that when I'm trying to do that, my eyes kind of start straying off to a different column or to a different row, and so actually having this gap here has been really helpful. And a couple of my knitting friends have said the same thing, that they have this similar kind of issue. So for me, swatch gauge is definitely a winner. There are markings on here in inches over here and centimetres over here. This side is frosted, this side is kind of gloss acrylic. The frosted section has got a tiny bit scratched in the last year, but it's really minimal. It's still looking really good considering that it's been used pretty much every day for a year in lots of different knitting bags. So that is the swatch gauge. Very useful in its own right, and it does come separately. So if you just want the swatch gauge, you can get just the swatch gauge. If you already have a swatch gauge, then you can actually get the toolkit without the swatch gauge. So you can save a little bit of money and you get the rest of the kit. So that is our swatch gauge. Pop them up there. And next we've got a little pair of scissors with a small blade, but it is perfectly adequate for cutting ends or whatever you might need to do. In theory, this is TSA compliant. However, we all know that you should probably take what is TSA compliant with a bit of a pinch of salt, because security guards, as is their right, can change their minds or just not adhere to the guidelines at any point. So be aware of that. You may choose to leave the scissors at home. Alternatively, if you do decide to take them and they get confiscated, then you can purchase a replacement set via Akerworks website. So those are the scissors. I have pretty small fingers, so I can actually fit my fingers very easily through there. But ultimately, you're going to be using this for snipping one thread at a time. You know, you're not going to be cutting fabric or anything with them, so they just need to be functional for snipping things. Then we have a tape measure. So the tape measure you can use in place, and that's what I normally do. It's a ratcheted tape measure, so as I pull it out, you'll hear the little clicks. If you don't want the clicks, you can just hold the button down and pull it out that way, and then you press the button to retract the tape measure. This is a standard tape measure, so it does come out. You can sort of take it out and either use it on its own if you need to, or if you wanted to replace it, maybe for a bit of fun and customization, you can put anything in there that is the same size. So for example, this Hurdy one fits in there perfectly as well. Then we have a couple of magnetized pockets, these sections here, and these actually come to you with 2 darning needles in one of them. And as you can see, if you drop anything in the vague direction of the knitting toolkit, it kind of moves towards it. So I have had times where I've dropped something in my bag and just kind of fished around with the knitting toolkit and it's picked it up. Extra handy little feature. And there are also some bulb pins in here as well, which people use as either stitch markers or maybe increase or decrease markers. So those are all the contents of the knitting toolkit itself, but as you've probably noticed, there's one more thing to talk about, because around the edge of the knitting toolkit, you have all these markings for a needle gauge. So if I grab a needle, the way this works is, unlike with the sort of stabby versions, you can just run your needle down the side, and at some point, you're going to find the one that perfectly fits that needle. There are markings in here for both US and metric needle sizes, and it goes all the way from 000, which is a 1.5mm needle, all the way through to 15, which is a 10mm needle. Now there is one thing that is missing for me in terms of things that I need to have in a knitting toolkit, and that's a crochet hook or some sort of stitch fixer. I actually have stitch fixers in each of my knitting bags, so it doesn't matter which bag I grab, I know it's definitely got a stitch fixer in it, but not everybody has that, and so for me, a crochet hook or something stitch fixery would be really useful in here. There is though this little hole here, which isn't used for anything else, and that could be used for a crochet hook to be hooked on, because you can get those crochet hooks that have a keyring attachment. I would just attach one of those to there if you don't already have stitch fixers or crochet hooks in all of your knitting bags anyway. So I'm now going to reassemble this, but I'm going to include some of the other things that I normally have in my knitting toolkit when I'm using it. So not only the 2 darning needles that came with it, but I also usually have a couple of different sizes of darning needles as well. So put those in there. Obviously the bulb pins can go back in their little pocket there. But I also have some more novelty stitch markers. I love a good Lego stitch marker. So those can go either into the standard pockets there, or you can actually put them in the section underneath the scissors as well. There's plenty of room for those and for scissors to go on top of there as well. And Swatch Gauge goes back on top, holds everything in place, but as we said before, because of all those magnets, when you flip this upside down, give it a shake, you can hear the Lego stitch markers rattling around, but nothing's actually really fallen out. So that's the knitting toolkit. So let's talk pricing. This retails for $38, which is around about £30 at the moment. Yes, it might be considered a little bit of an extravagance for some people. Could you put together a toolkit that contains similar items for less? Yes, of course. However, it's not quite as neat. It's not as nicely kind of self-contained. It's not as secure, and the fact that it's just all in one item that I can just kind of pick up and drop into a knitting bag, and then I know that I've got everything I need, that to me is absolutely worth it. So there you go, that is a little review of the Akerworks Knitting Tool Kit. I hope you found that useful. If you did and you would like to see more videos from this channel, then feel free to hit the subscribe button. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or found this useful, and I will see you again in another video.